live on
Meeting is
Facebook.
now streaming on Facebook.
Yay!
But I don't see it on the Facebook page.
It'll take a minute,
Okay.
Papa. I don't see it at all on their Facebook.
I don't see it.
God.
I don't see it
I don't
either.
understand
I
what's
am not
going on.
Papa.
We are there.
Oh, there it is.
So for everyone who's just joining us right now, we're just all at that phase where we all say, I can't see it, I can't hear
I
it.
can't see it on the Facebook.
There it is.
page.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Jesus
And
Christ.
all those things will...
Jesus, Murphy.
All right, here we go.
All right. And from here, we can all share.
See it at all on their Facebook. All right, someone has to turn the thing.
I am not Papa.
We are there.
Oh, there it is.
So for everyone who's joining us right now, we're just all at that phase where we all say, I can't see it, I can't hear
So
it.
someone has to turn down their volume, Abby.
Oh, for fuck.
And all those things.
Abby?
Oh, my volume.
All right,
what
here
are
we
you
go.
talking about? My volume's down.
All right.
Okay. I think we're good. So, welcome everybody to the Hamilton Indie Film Things I Do for Money panel. I was actually just camping and I got to watch the movie by the campfire. And I will say, if you have not seen the movie, you're all in for a real treat. And if so, definitely this is something you want to check out. If you haven't seen the movie, you might not understand some of the things that we're talking about here, but you will definitely get a feel for what's going on in the city in terms of movie making. I will be moderating the panel tonight. My name is Nathan Fleet. I run the 15th Annual Hamilton Film Festival, which will take place this November from November 7th to 15th. And year-round, we like to host events and promote other indie film happenings throughout the year because we really believe that we have to work together to kind of so that we can all rise. If one of us benefits, we all benefit. And oh, look, Warren has a Hamilton Film Festival mug there.
So did Kelly. I put mine up because Kelly put hers up.
Oh no, mine's the Beatles. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nathan,
They look the same. There we
hook
go.
me up, Nathan.
I will hook you up. And so one of the things that I've been living in the city all my life, I'm born and raised here. And back when I wanted to really get into filmmaking, that was in the late 90s, and there really wasn't a film scene in Hamilton. I was always taking the GO bus to Toronto to study filmmaking at LIFT, and coming back to the city to really not much. There was nowhere to get educated on things. And then slowly a few things started popping up, like a place called the Factory Media Center, which was a place where you could get some training and rent some equipment that was inexpensive. And there was a little place on Dundurn Street North called the Staircase Theater that happened to have an LCD projector and a VHS machine and a DVD player where indie filmmakers could go and pop in their movie and have a screening at a time when film festivals were only accepting things on film or beta SP tapes, and all those transfers were very, very inexpensive. So we found a little home in Hamilton where you could take something out of your VHS machine and bring it and screen it and have some audiences watch it. But there was still no real industry here. We were probably at maybe 10 permits a year, where we're now up to about 800 permits a year.
Wow.
So the film industry has changed quite a bit in the city, and it's ramped up quite a bit. And before we start this, I do want to bring up one movie called Lucky 7, which was filmed back in the city in 2007, around 2007, 2009. And it was a movie that filmed Hamilton for Hamilton.
Stephen Hayes.
Writer-director Stephen Hayes knew that the city had something beautiful, and the movie contained the factories, but it also contained the waterfalls and all the beautiful architecture that existed in the city. He saw something there. And when we were auditioning for that movie, there were a lot of people that came from outside the city that laughed at him, thinking, why are you shooting in Hamilton? And they also didn't understand that, there was any kind of mob connection to the city. So they were saying, Hamilton, this doesn't make sense. This is not really what Hamilton's about. And then fast forward to now, and you can't keep productions away from this city. So I saw a massive change in such a short period of time. And here we are talking about Things I Do for Money, which is probably one of the most recent movies that was filmed in Hamilton to be released. And also, which is also dear to my heart, that they made it about the city. They actually called it Hamilton in the movie. So I would like to welcome you all to this Hamilton Indie Film panel. And we're going to go around, and what I want to ask you each is basically tell who you are and your role in the movie and when you got involved in the production. At what point did you jump onto this? And so I'll start with you, Warren.
My name is Warren Sonoda. I'm the co-writer along with Gary Nolan, who's also Hamiltonian. But he doesn't Zoom a lot. I got him to do a Zoom within Canada a couple days ago, so I might have used up my Zoom chits with Gary Nolan. But we wrote the film starting in the fall of 2017, really ramping up in January, February, March of 2018. And we shot this movie in the summer, August of 2018. So it was a really quick sort of development, script writing, fast track. And in that time, I was able to convince and sort of make these people on the Zoom believe in what we were doing. I don't know if I hypnotized them or if I put the right amounts of sedatives in their coffee, but they all agreed to come on board. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, I was involved in the project right from the beginning, Nathan.
And I'll move over to you, Nick.
My name is Nick Coffin. I was the camera operator and key grip gaffer, kind of swing person on it as well.
Oh, you were more than that. You were like our guru.
It was a fun time. I got involved with the project. I knew about it kind of early 2018 from Christoph, who I've worked with many times before. And he said, hey, I met up with Warren Sonoda. He's a Canadian director, amazing Canadian director that I'd love to work with someday. And he's got this amazing project that he wants to meet up about and talk about. And so I I was on the line with it for maybe like half the year. And I was like, is it going to happen? I wonder if it's going to happen. And then finally it was like end of July. It was like, for sure, it's happening. Like, clear your schedule, we're doing it. I was like, okay, great. This is going to be awesome.
July 29th, I looked it up. That's when I called Abby and Emily and Laura Norton. And well, Jen is my wife, so I didn't have to call her. But July 29th was when we pulled the trigger and said, we're going to make this movie. And we went to camera in August.
All right, so let's while we're in the camera department, let's move down to Christoph.
Hey, I'm Christoph Benfey. I was the cinematographer on Things I Do for Money. And Emily, who's also in this chat, is the one who brought me into the picture. We worked on a short film together earlier that year. And we were kind of just like hanging out in the parking lot, dumping footage at the end of the day. And we were the only two people left. And she was like, where are you off to after this? And I was like, well, I'm going back home to Hamilton. She's like, oh, Hamilton. I'm actually shooting a movie with a director potentially in Hamilton. And apparently that was all the qualifications I needed, was the fact that I lived there.
You had a camera too, Christoph. Don't sell yourself short.
And I had Nick Coffin, the secret sauce. So Emily made the introduction to Warren, and I think a few weeks or months later we connected, and it was basically it was my first feature film, so I probably would have said yes no matter what, but I was really excited when Warren mentioned that it was kind of a combination of Snatch meets Whiplash, and Snatch being one of my favorite movies as like a 12-year-old aspiring filmmaker. I was pretty stoked about the idea of making a movie that was inspired by that. So I was a pretty easy sell on this one and very excited to have been part of it.
That's great. So I'm going to move, since you mentioned Emily, I'll go to Emily. Why don't you tell us who you are and when you got involved with this?
Yeah, hi, my name is Emily Andrews, and I'm one of the members of Film Coop. So Jen, Laura, myself are Film Coop, and Jen is with Warren, and Warren and I have hung out, and essentially we're like, when are we going to make something together? Because we enjoyed each other's company, but also each other's skills. And so I was lucky to be asked to be a part of the team. And as soon as I was asked, as soon as I read the script, I was like, let's go for this for sure. And just to mention that Christoph, the only thing was not Hamilton. The day went so well. He was like a star on set and a joy to work with. And the footage that I saw, even in the monitor, I was like, I have got to tell Warren about Christoph. So it was his energy, his vibe, and his mad skills, and his Hamilton home.
That's great. Let's talk to Avi now. Avi, as a producer, can you tell us when you got involved with this?
So I got involved when I was a little kid, and I heard about Warren Sonoda, and I said I want to make a movie with Warren Sonoda. And had been chasing him for 10 years. Every time I would see him at either a DGC event or an industry function, I would say to him, "So when are we going to do something together?" And we would meet for coffee. And yeah, I've got all these things in my head, but I'm so busy directing right now, I can't think straight about it. And then, busy doing episodic television. And I said, well, come on, let's make an indie movie together. And you tell the story that you want to tell. Like it's your passion project. So I got a phone call from Warren one day. He said, Abby, I think I have that project. And he said, I'll send you a one pager, and take a look. And I immediately looked at it, literally immediately after I got it, I read it immediately, and I immediately called him and said, let's do this. And he says, okay, but I haven't written it yet. And Gary and I were going to write it. And, be ready in, 3 or 4 months, no problem. And sure enough, it was. And while he was writing it with Gary, we were formulating the financing. Emily and I and Warren and Jen sort of tried to piece all the puzzles together financially with Warren. And we went in August. We opened up a company, and lo and behold, we shot it. And it goes against everything that I teach in my indie film seminars about few locations, very few actors, all that stuff. We blew the doors off of all of those things, but we'll let Warren tell you that story.
And while we're talking about locations, and let's talk to Kelly here.
Sure. I'm Kelly Carney. I'm a Hamilton native. I've lived here my whole life, and I always tell people I absolutely used to work in a factory back in my college days. So true Steel Town girl, that's for sure. I connected with Warren Sonoda, I think, through Liz, my best friend, Liz Nagnobu, who's not in the industry, but
That's right.
she had said to me, why don't you reach out to Warren? I was looking to join the Directors Guild, and she said, talk to Warren, he'll help you. Although our first conversation, you were like, Kelly, you produce? I think you should be, joining the CMPA. I was like, no, producer on hiatus, never going back there. So we had some conversations, I think, in the spring, and you said, I've got a passion piece coming up about Hamilton. And I was like, well, please keep in touch with me about that. That sounds like a great project. I didn't know too much. I don't think I knew it was about cello, crime, comedy. I had no idea that was it. And I think you finally sent the script to me in June. I read it, I loved it, and I was like, oh, I gotta do this. Then there was a bit of a lull, I guess, as Avi and the girls and Warren were trying to figure out financing. So I picked up on another show. And
Kelly's very popular. She got double booked.
So Warren circles back and says, we're doing this. And I was like, oh my God, I can't help you. I'm like, no, I'm going to do your locations. I'll do your scouting in your locations.
You did in July. Actually, June 29th was when we pulled the trigger to actually go for it. We had zero money in the bank, and Abby and Jen, Laura, and Emily at Film Coop, we set out to raise the financing for it. But that's kind of around the time I did contact Kelly. I'm like, let's do this. And she's like, I'm booked. But you gave us July, which was fantastic.
There you go. So that's how I got involved. I loved it right from the beginning. And I just got to watch it last night. I had a break in my schedule, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I absolutely loved it because I haven't read the script for, it was 2 years ago. I wasn't there on set. I wasn't on location at all for it. I had to pull out and go on to another project. So it was amazing.
Okay, so that's a great segue. Kelly, born and raised in Hamilton. I was born and raised in Hamilton. So let's go back to Warren and let's get your connection to this city. What is your connection to Hamilton?
Well, I was born in St. Joe's. I grew up on the mountain with my mom and dad, my two brothers, Ron and Bob, East 13th Street, right by Hill Park. Through a confluence of events, I actually went to Sherwood for the first part of my high school career, and then in grade 12, moved back to Hill Park, which was like a block away from me, and it was much better for me to sleep in and go to class. But I went to Hill Park because of Bill Cook's drama class there, and that's where I met Kevin Spencer, who was in the band called Rhymes with Orange, and The Misunderstood, which I did a music video for. He also was the touring company of Rent. He starred in Rent. Now he's down in Atlanta. And then one of my best friends from high school, Jason Jones, who went on to be on The Daily Show and did The Detour. He's married to Samantha Bee. These were the high school classmates that I found at Hill Park, and we were just very creative. I mean, you know, Kelly started off in a factory in Hamilton. I started off the Keg downtown at 33 Bowen Street, right? Which I guess was Cilantro for a time, and now it's just 33 Bowen. But to me, it's always the Keg. And I started as a salad boy there because I was 16 and I wasn't old enough to serve alcohol. But the minute, like, I think I worked on my birthday, because as soon as I was 18, I became a waiter down there. And me and Jason Jones, and there's a whole bunch of us that I got a bunch of people into the Keg down there, and it was the best job in the world. So my connection with Hamilton has always been sort of formative, you know, as a child in my teenage years, and being able to commit to a movie. I mean, one of the things when I talked to Emily and Abby about the film, I just said, you know, it's important for me to go back to Hamilton and show it Hamilton is Hamilton. You know, you mentioned Stephen Hayes, who actually was one of our Indiegogo supporters. Amazingly, he donated money, and he got a really good perk. He got a on-screen photo perk, so he's actually in the movie on a newspaper.
I saw that.
Yeah, and you know, I wanted to show the Hamilton that I know, the you know, Kenilworth and Barton and Nikola Tesla Drive down by DeFasco, and but also how Hamilton has changed from what Kelly would know as the Steeltown roots into what is now a medical city. It's a medical hub. It's first in cancer research and palliative care, and you know, obviously McMaster University and the students there. It's a changing city, and that's kind of what we try to capture in our cheeky narrative. So that's my connection to the town. I love it.
And for those listening that aren't from Hamilton, when you said you lived on the mountain, can you explain what the mountain actually is here?
The mountain, and we actually we premiered in Whistler at the Whistler Film Festival, and there's a line in the movie where there's a chase towards the end of the movie, and one character screams to the other character, "I hate this mountain," because they're literally running up the mountain. And I made Dax Lowe, who plays Alexi Raduli, and Ed Aoki, who plays just Jimmy. I made them run up the escarpment, like, I don't know how many times, Nick and Christoph, like,
they were sweating so much.
25 times up the mountain.
On. They were wearing like leather jackets.
Yeah, black. Yeah.
And he screams out, "Oh, I hate this mountain!" And then Ed, who's playing this hitman from Vancouver, screams, "I'm from Vancouver. This isn't a mountain." So the mountain's always a demarcation geographically in Hamilton from uptown, like a literal. I always thought cities were uptown, downtown, and they had to have an actual elevation. So when I would go to Toronto, I'm like, "Well, where's your downtown?" And they'd say, "Well, we're in it." I'm like, "No, this is not downtown. We're still on the same level as everything else." So that always had that. The escarpment always had that sort of romantic demarcation line that exists in Hamilton in my head, and that's what we wanted to try to lean into in the movie.
That's great. And of course, there are shots that are on our mountain looking down. It's a beautiful view of the city from up there. If anyone has not visited Hamilton yet, hopefully
and Brenda's house, her sort of nice house, which I actually shot in Dundas, which is right beside Hamilton. We set it on the mountain just to show the difference between what I consider the suburban sprawl of the South Hamilton and the more industrial area downtown, Kenilworth and Barton in that area.
That's great. And then so as I know Christoph has been here for a while, but I don't know your backstory. I don't really know where you're from. Christoph, can you tell us your connection to the city here?
Yeah, I do live here now. I've been here since 2010. I came to the city for work. I grew up in Toronto and Mississauga, and Hamilton was never really on my radar. I didn't know anybody who lived here. I think we came here a couple times to go to Cops Coliseum for, a concert or something like that. But other than that, I had no real connections here. And I came here in 2010. A friend kind of dragged me over here for a job, and I immediately fell in love with the city. Art crawl was a thing back then. And so just being able to connect with other artists. And another thing that was really apparent from the very beginning was the collaborative spirit here. And coming from Toronto, where it's a lot more cutthroat and everyone's kind of like gunning for the same.
Hey.
At the time. Anyways, it was like a very refreshing change of pace. And, also at the time, it was a lot more affordable. So I decided to kind of make it.
Yes, because Toronto's much more affordable now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the line has, or the gap has shrunk a little bit, but yeah, there's a lot of draws to being here, the access to nature and everything. So I kind of never looked back, and yeah, I'm gonna be here forever, I think.
And so, Nick, so you work with Christoph in the camera department there. So what is your connection to the city? How did you get involved in the Hammer here?
The Hammer? My connection was directly actually through Christoph, and it was about 2013, maybe 2014. We had worked on a job that wasn't in Hamilton, but we connected on that, and we had each other on social media. And I think a few months later, he posted looking for like a camera assistant for an overnight shoot. It was a short film that a few other Hamilton filmmakers were doing, and so I was like, yeah, why not? Like at the time, I was like sort of just starting out in the industry, didn't really know a lot of contacts. So he was like, yeah, come on over. This is the address, and we'll start shooting, sort of thing. So I go over there, and yeah, it was a nice full overnight. I haven't really done one before, but I was super eager and super excited. And just through that alone, I met so many great other like filmmakers. There's like Michael Pett, Andrew Johnston, Taylor Shadney, and a few other Hamilton people that we still connect with now and do a few projects with. And that was Christoph, I think it was 2014 maybe? I don't know. It was a few years. Yeah.
There's a funny story about that too, was like, I think the moment I realized that Nick was going to be somebody that I work with forever was we were shooting this scene on a sidewalk on Murray Street, across from where the Whitten Lofts are now. And I was like, I really want to get this, like, the street lights were off and they weren't working or something. So I was like, I really want to get like this nice bright light coming from like this house over here. And we knew the people who owned the house. And I kind of like went off and was doing something else. And then I like turned around 5 minutes later and I saw Nick crawling out of this window and onto the roof of this house with like a light stand and like a 1K light to like mount it. I was like, yeah, we're going to get along just fine. And yeah, just very gung ho. And like especially on a movie like this where, nobody's really wearing one hat. We're all wearing multiple hats all the time. You need people like Nick who are, like B camera operator, but also, gaffing and moving lights around and wearing all the hats basically. So yeah,
we made him climb a rooftop on our show too.
Oh yeah.
It may or may or not have happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And Emily, I don't believe we have met, but I definitely know the Film Coop, and I believe I was introduced to the Film Coop maybe 5 years ago at the Hamilton Film Festival, and I believe it was a film with Murray Foster in it.
Cocksure Lads.
And it was before the Cocksure Lads. And,
it was.
And I think,
it was Bob.
Yes, Bob.
Oh, yeah. Bob. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So
yeah, that was.
So I know the Film Coop connection to Hamilton then because I met some members of the Coop at that point. But what's your connection to the city?
To Hamilton? Just that it's great. I like the people there. I like filming there. I like when you do a city for a city, when we do that in Toronto too. I love that. I think it adds to the story, the character of the piece, and it really did so for our film, and it just brings out the vibe and the energy of the city. Like there are multiple times when we were shooting and we would tell someone that we were making at Hamilton and can we actually use your sign and can we promote the city, and people were excited and giving us cookies, giving us donuts, like welcoming us.
We got so many donuts from Granddad's. It's amazing.
Just like the generosity, the openness, and A few friends of mine came to see the film who live in Hamilton, and they were just so excited trying to guess, oh, where was that? Where was that? You know? So my connection to Hamilton is just going there, enjoying it, and being able to film there.
Emily moved in with me and Jen, and then Laura would come in when she was able to. We had an Airbnb in Hamilton downtown, and we lived there for like 2 months making the film, prepping it, and then shooting it.
Yeah, so, and we got to play at your festival a couple times, Film Coop, and it's been amazing. We always love going to your festival, and I've also done the theater festival there as an actor, and that was brilliant. I mean, Hamilton is great. It's a great place to be, and it's just getting busier and busier and more popular. So it's going to be harder and harder for everyone to do the things we were able to accomplish. That's great, and we're all. It seems that every year we're all getting in at the ground level, because it seems that there's always something new happening and something fresh, and that's fantastic. And I think the spirit of the city is that you're always going to get a box of donuts from somebody. It's just that kind of Hamilton is a very generous city by nature. Cake and Loaf had they were great too. So good. I saw that van whipping by in the movie, and I'm like, hey, it's Cake and Loaf. And then Avi. So through the Hamilton Film Festival, you see the end credits of a movie, Avi Federgreen. Who is this Avi who's producing all these movies? And then we had the pleasure of having you out and to speak on some panels. And then I guess every year since then, we've been connected through the film festival. So it's been great to get to know who you are. It's great to get to see the face behind all these movies. You have a tremendous amount of credit to your film. And so tell me what you brought to Hamilton. Tell me your connection to this city. Well, so the last bunch of years I've been working on a number of shows for Aircraft Pictures. We did Bruno and Boots at McMaster University. So I basically shot in McMaster for literally a whole summer, for 2 summers in a row. And then Holly Hobby, we've been shooting in and around Hamilton the last couple years, and more to come next year. And I've started shooting other projects in Hamilton. I'm actually going to shoot a show in Hamilton, hopefully probably later October, which will be the first long form film I've ever directed. Will be in Hamilton. Watch out! Abby the director's coming on the loose in the Hammer. With my preferred cinematographer, who's worked on the last 4 shows with me, Christoph Benfey, with maybe Nick at some point once he finishes. You can't afford Nick anymore. No, I can't afford Nick. That's Kelly Carney, maybe, if she would return my calls. But Hamilton's great. It's got lots of looks that Toronto used to have. Like, you could play Chicago in Hamilton, you can play New York in Hamilton. Lots of different, American cities can be replicated in Hamilton very, very easily. The brownstones in Hamilton match up with New York really, really well. So, Hamilton is now and will be more of a shooting destination for a lot of American productions, because we don't have those kinds of locations in Toronto anymore. Also, I would tell you that I would work with the Hamilton indie crew over anybody in Toronto any day of the week. My last bunch of experiences with the Hamilton crew is second to none, and they're like family to me now. And I can't imagine working with anybody other than the people that I've been fortunate to work with out of Hamilton. So. Explain the difference. What are you noticing with this Hamilton crew that you weren't seeing with crews? Well, Christoph said something very interesting, and I completely agree with him when he first introduced himself, which is Hamilton is what Toronto used to be when I got into the film business 25 years ago, where it was a collaborative, almost co-op kind of community film community. Toronto was like that way back in the day. It's not like that at all anymore. Hamilton is that. You talk to anybody there who's in the film business, they do they're not just a gaffer, they're not just a grip, they're not just the production side. They do hosts of different things. Christoph even makes a mean cappuccino, or a latte. Like, he's not just a DP. And now he's going to be a land baron, so just watch out. And now he's going to be a land baron. But we'll definitely talk about that.
everybody works on everybody else's shows in Hamilton. Like if Nick is directing or DPing a show, the people that he works for sometimes will come and work on his projects and vice versa. It's just a super collaborative community, and everybody brings something to the table, and they're an asset to every single production that you do there. So I prefer to go work there, and I prefer to work with those people.
That's great. And so, as you were mentioning, Hamilton playing, being able to play different American cities, that's something that the film office has really identified and focused on bringing a lot of American productions down. Small town America, absolutely, in Dundas and Waterdown. So Kelly, as we're talking about all these locations, tell us your expertise on this movie, because you're born and raised here, so someone says something and automatically your head must pop in with like 5 different ideas. And so tell us, about the locations here and specifically on this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was reading the script, I could envision a lot of areas. The Barton, Tiffany, Queen North, Hess North, that played as something. I saw that right away. I think I had taken Warren and Gary. We did a drive-through there. We have some like street trudging scenes through there. I saw that right away by the tracks. The rooftops, I've never personally been on a project that we were shooting on roofs, so that was quite the adventure. I climbed a roof or two with Warren and Christoph. I also bailed out, I think, one rooftop. I was like, not going up there, you guys go, I'll wait right here. So yeah, just some experience shooting around the city over past decade and a half or so on different features, docs, PSAs, lots of indie corporate stuff. I'm just trying to think of I was going to say the truck, but I think Christoph, that was you. I think you suggested the Christoph or the truck when the 3 of us were driving around. So I just reached out to Lois in a heartbeat. She was like, yep, I'll help you out. I think one of the things that really helps is I'm pretty budget savvy. Warren, Avi, Laura, you could, and Emily and Jen would be able to speak to that. We were working on a shoestring.
Yeah,
we were working on a shoestring, and I approach people that I've shot before, so I know what they're like, and also I appeal to maybe their human side. Come on, we've got no money, but we want to shoot here. Can you cut us a deal? And that always happens. Just like Hamilton gives you free donuts and cookies, and you get to use the cake and loaf van. That's what Hamilton's like. Yeah, they're just like willing to help out. It's amazing.
Can I, sorry, Nathan, I just want to name the actual locations Kelly and her counterpart, Josh Aries, were a part of getting. So Alameda Mansion, Alexi's house, Mickle house, Interior Symphony Cello Player's house, Yaguchi house, Mickle Auto Shop, Bingo Hall, Downtown Clothes Store, Sea Chestnut Motel, Rec Center, which is the Canadian Japanese Cultural Center of Hamilton, the Ice Rink interior, exterior rooftop, Yaguchi construction site, Turcotte Pharmacy, Blink's Bar, Mega Donuts restaurant, which Mega Donuts is Granddad's Donuts, restaurant, which was the Trocadero, desolate East End Street, exterior Hamilton streets, including derelict skate graffiti alleyway, exterior City Street bus stop, exterior Hamilton various, including thrift store, alleyway, and street trudging, exterior city streets night for Eli's Daydream, which was around the Tivoli, Stash House Street, exterior Hamilton Street, Posh Stash House, including Birch Avenue, exterior Downtown Street near Rooftop Building for chase sequence, downtown exterior night, including the Rooftop, which was supposed to be at night, downtown Hamilton night, Houston and Wilson Streets, downtown Hamilton for music montage, exterior Hamilton downtown various, including shopping for headphones and ditching them, the Hamilton Escarpment, exterior open highway for Nick's car sequence, exterior Winnipeg ice rink, exterior general store, entering Banff, exterior roads, exterior hospital, 35 locations that they
It's just a few.
in 13 days of main unit photography and 2 pickup days.
And so going back to what Kelly was saying about asking people and pleading people, this was a crucial job for you. Like with all those locations that Warren has named, like you had to
Kelly
get
was
these.
one of the first people on board that we asked to come on board. Outside of Christoph having a history with us beforehand, she was the first pickup for us.
So this is very important, and again, that I guess goes to the spirit of people in the city, is that Hamilton is still excited when a movie shoot comes to town. A road closure, let's get out of the car and have a look and see what's going on. That seems to be the spirit right now, at least. And I guess that was very important to what's going on with this movie. You had to get these locations.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's COVID now, and pre-COVID was when we made our movie. But we just found that people were interested that we were actually making a movie about Hamilton for Hamilton. So sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
I was just going to say I forgot about this, the bingo hall scene. We had gone to actually check out the bingo hall on Fennel. And it was just too big. It wouldn't work. We walked through it. Remember right away. I love scouting with Warren Sonoda, by the way. He is quick. He's in and out. He makes his decisions. Nope, it's good. Thank you. Boom, boom, boom. I've never seen a director work this efficiently. It was an amazing experience for me. But what I thought about was where I used to go voting down by Gage Park. There's a retirement community. There's 2 dual buildings, Terrace Shvenko, right on Gage North. And I was like, oh, they've definitely got a space. And so I said to the manager, could I bring this team through? Could we take a look? Could we do this scout? We walk in there. They had the bingo machine. They had, the bingo,
The balls, that was from them. They had cards.
It was amazing.
Their cards, yeah.
And they had
people.
2 buildings full of senior citizens.
And my favorite part of that location is like near the end somewhere, one guy was leaving and he's like, they kept calling the same numbers. I felt so bad because that poor person was like so sweet and lovely, yes, but also thought like, why
they were playing
this
bingo
game not going so well?
And one of the other interesting things too, like that you captured a little bit of history. Now that This Ain't Hollywood is no longer a premier rock venue in the city, and you were able to actually capture that quite a bit in the movie. That plays a big role in the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about working at This Ain't Hollywood?
Kelly was really instrumental in getting that. Kelly, you worked really hard to secure that, and I'm glad you did. You want to just talk about how you got that location?
Those guys are amazing. The owners are amazing. I don't even know what they're up to now. I really hope they took the money and run. I really hope they're doing fabulous things with their money because, man, they earned it. What an institution they created in our city. I've attended many live venue shows. I've also shot there a few times, and they've always been, Lou and Glenn have just been so open and so welcoming. And extremely supportive of all arts. I'm sure, Nathan, you experienced that on your time in Hamilton doing things in that area. And I just reached out to them and I said, I've got another feature, and again, zero budget. I've approached you before with other features. This is the budget that I've had. Right now I'm somewhere down here. So what can we do? Can we make it happen? And I think we had some scheduling. If I'm not mistaken, Emily, we might have had some scheduling issues because we had to get in there around a private event. Somebody had booked out This Ain't Hollywood. I think there was like a stag and doe or a bachelorette or something.
We had to be out by 4 o'clock or something like that.
We had to get out of there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like a hard out, which with in our industry, yeah, right, you got to be out by 4. That means 4 a.m. kind of thing. Our days are 16 hours, 19 hours, as Nick is probably sleeping because he just came off of one of those. But yeah, they were just fantastic. And I think the fact that we captured it Is it the last feature to have captured it?
I don't know if it's the last one, but I think we really got that. I mean, maybe Christoph and Nick can talk about shooting in there, because we had so many scenes and you had to make it look like a crime thriller in each scene, right?
Yeah,
it was pretty wild. I mean, that comes back to like everybody being willing to help out. So like I feel like people from all departments were helping us black out windows, because we were shooting, it was daytime, but we were trying to shoot nighttime stuff. And we just had so much stuff to cram into such a short period of time. You just can't do it unless everyone's kind of willing to pick up there's the slack and help out with everything. So but yeah, it was great shooting in there, because at least you're shooting a bar as a bar. So I mean, we didn't have to do too much with the lighting, because they already had the stage lit pretty well, and like even the bar area looked so great on camera, so we didn't have to do a whole lot there. So it was just a matter of like working with the art department and the production designer to make it look as good as possible. And then kind of the moral of this whole movie was just like, get it as close as you can and then just start rolling, because we only have so much time. So
well, Nathan, you just saw the movie, right? I mean,
Yep.
There's so many scenes in This Ain't Hollywood. There's the actual band performance. There's a scene after, which was much longer after the band performance. There's all the Alexei getting shot scenes and the scenes in the Red Room, the scenes where Nick wakes up drunk and has to go driving. All the scenes outside with just Jimmy tracking the Alexei car. We shot all that from about 9 a.m. to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, it was
remember
go,
that.
go, go.
That's crazy. I
It
thought
was
that was a 2-day shoot at This Ain't Hollywood. Like, I think I
No.
remember you saying that in like another Zoom call, and I was trying to like wrap my brain around. I was like,
we left,
No.
and then we shot the Turcotte beating, that entire opening
Yeah.
sequence.
yeah,
That like 4 pages of action and driving.
it's so much stuff at This Ain't Hollywood. That's wild.
in half a day, basically.
half a day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks great too. Like, it looks awesome.
I love those scenes.
Here's a question for the producers on the show. So when you have the script in Hamilton, how do you approach the city? So did you work with the film office, or was this all shooting on private property? What was your experience that way, like actually putting the pieces together to film on Hamilton streets and locations?
Well, I mean, that was also like our locations helping us massively to get it done. And also Max Effects was helping us with PDOs, and everyone in this crew and this team just banded together to make sure that everything was accomplished. And it was amazing, like the hard work and the dedication. And so Kelly took on a lot of that stuff, even though she was on another film. Even though she was on another film, she would message us, okay, this came in today, and just going. And she had this beautiful spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets, but it helped us so much in a way to communicate like what we still needed to get done without her or with her. And so it seemed actually quite easy, even though we had 30 some odd locations, right? So it really we all just gelled, and we just got the work done and made it happen.
And basically, while Emily and Laura and Jen were sort of in Hamilton putting the actual physical unit together, Abby was working around the clock to get the financial side together. Because on June 2018, we had zero money in the bank account. And when I finally went to camera on August 11th or whatever it was, we had $120,000 that we raised. And we actually came in under. We only spent $100,000 on the actual shoot because we needed money for post. But Abby, you can kind of speak to putting together the financing for this.
It's all a blur, man. All a blur. I mean, I was literally running from people's places straight to the bank
with checks.
Do not put a 5-day hold on this, because we're shooting in less than 5 days.
Yeah.
And then because my branch knows me as well as they do, and they know, they've seen where this money is coming from before, family members and such. I mean, it was crazy. And Emily was, you know, she was on the ground boots, dealing with all the accounting and stuff like that. And, you know, I kind of left her alone till the shoot was done because I knew she was going out of her mind. And if she heard my stupid OCD, ADHD commentary to her, she probably would have sent over somebody and put a bullet in my head. So I basically
Just Jimmy,
waited.
just Jimmy.
Just Jimmy. I just
No
waited,
way.
and then we went through it all afterwards, and it, you know, it's all organized and everything. But you know, the movie doesn't end when you finish shooting. All the post production that had to happen, all the accounting that had to happen. I mean, we're still, what, you know, we've gotten our tax credit certifications, but we're still waiting for potential CRA audit before we can get our tax credits and, you know, pay back the last of our money that we owe people and things like that. I mean, it goes on forever, which is fine because I love these people and I would do it all again with them. But it's not, you know, here we are, we finished shooting in August 2018 and here we are August 2020 and it's still not done. We're still in it, right?
Yeah.
And
And-
Avi and I would check in like every night too. So he was doing the financials. We're running around busy on set, and then we'd have our like evening chat too. So thanks for that.
Well, and
Avi.
you know, and I didn't know any of this, but you know, I heard on the last Zoom call, Emily came into like a place. Yeah, this toilet is fine. I can use this as my office. Fantastic. Oh yeah, this one I can just put my computer on the kitchen stove over here. That's fine. I can make that work. I mean, it was like have office will travel.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the Airbnb and work for 2-3 hours, whatever, afterwards to plan the next day. And, you know, we made this movie 13 days, right, Warren, and a couple of Splinter Unit days with a Splinter crew. And, you know, Nick's doing everything, Christoph's doing everything, like everybody's doing everything. I mean, that's how indie film really works. And when you have a team that's as solid as the team that was on this movie, you know, you're bound for success. There's no question about it.
And when you're talking about the finances, what some people may not know is that if you are filming in Hamilton, it's the first city that is closest to Toronto where you can access an additional
5%?
tax credit, a
Yeah.
regional bonus.
10%.
Can you speak to that?
10%, yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
speak to
So
that?
what for the Ontario tax credits, there's what is known as a boundary, and if you shoot in the distant zone, which Hamilton is part of that distant zone, you can get an extra 10% tax credits, which to a small indie film like ours means a lot. Trust me. And at the end of the day, it helped with paying back investors because our tax credits were part of our financing, but I purposely underestimated the tax credits so that we could pay everybody back and then some, so that we could try to make ourselves whole. So that's important when you're putting films like this together, is to make sure that you don't overestimate those tax credits, because if you have a shortfall, then you're really in trouble. So.
And additionally, Nathan, and Christoph and Nick might be able to speak to it more, but it was crucial we found crew and cast from Hamilton because we simply couldn't afford to transport them in from Toronto or put them up overnight or whatever. We just had another Zoom like this with the Hamilton actors of Things to Do for Money, and we talked about how deep the acting talent pool is in Hamilton, how we were able to cast many of the 50 plus speaking parts from Hamilton itself. But I couldn't bring in people from elsewhere. I just couldn't afford it. And those that did, like Daxlow and Danilo, and they drove themselves in, they got themselves into Hamilton.
And they carpooled people, and
Yeah.
they were very generous.
But for the majority of the cast, and especially the background, we tried to pull from the Hamilton talent pool. But yeah, Christoph and Nick, you want to talk about the Hamilton crew that you were able to bring out?
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to really push for a long time now, is that a lot of the bigger productions that come into town bring literally everything from Toronto usually. But there are a lot of really talented people to pull from here. It's just a matter of getting them on people's radars. Like we have production designers and art directors and like all kinds of incredible people. And I feel really fortunate to have kind of gotten into the circle of filmmakers that are shooting here now and being able to introduce them to local talent that's doing stuff. And part of this new endeavor that we're taking on seeks to do that even more. So yeah, basically everybody on our team on this film was people from Hamilton, which doesn't happen very often. Like, surprisingly, a lot of people come from elsewhere, even though we do have, you know, a really good group of people here that are very capable filmmakers.
And that's so that is a benefit that goes way beyond just things I do for money, right? If you happen to be shooting a movie here, that you can draw from the talent pool that exists in the city. You know, you're not just getting locations and tax credits, but there's a wealth of talent that also exists.
I think that's important, Nathan. I think specifically for indie features, you can build a movie in Hamilton and build it from the ground up, from cast and crew and locations like Kelly and Christoph have been talking about. But television is a little bit more difficult because the majority of the sound stages are in Toronto. So the house base for these shows, like I was literally location scouting for Murdoch Mysteries in Hamilton, and we'll shoot there. But you want those shows as well. But they're far more likely to bring in crew from outside Hamilton because they're the longtime crew of the show. But the one thing about indie films is you can go, like, we consciously made the decision, we're going to make a film in Hamilton as Hamilton and build the team from Hamilton. So I think you're going to see more of that happening, especially in COVID times where you don't want a lot of cross-pollinated traffic and people going from one pod to another. You know, you want to keep crews together, basically, just to keep the health factor in a smaller sphere.
Yeah, let's touch on that, I guess. Some of you are actively right now working. You're actively on shows and on sets. What has that been like for you since things opened up, I guess, in early July, I guess it was?
Well, Nick was the last one to wrap. I wrapped earlier than that. So why don't you go first, Nick?
Yeah, like it's definitely a different era of working on set, but you know, it's a collaborative effort. Everyone has to be on the same page about safety, and also you have to understand if other people aren't comfortable. So you really got to, you know, keep in mind the actions that you take could affect somebody in a different way. So, you know, everyone's wearing masks. If you're close, you know, to actors and everything, you're wearing face shields too. And there's like, I've seen no pushback of that thus far, which is great. But it's definitely like, I think it really comes down to like just gauging other people's interactions with how they're like trying to deal with COVID and everything, because everyone's at a different sort of level of intensity with it, and like both mental capacity and physical capacity. But it's honestly, once you get past there it is right now, see? But once you get past, like, you know, the PPE, like, it's business as usual. You know, you're doing your job, and like, I'm thankful to be back to work, and I love what I do. So, you know, if I have to wear a mask for the next year or so, so be it. It'll be just fine.
And so Kelly took.
Oh. Yeah, I think understanding and patience and diligence and kindness is going to be sort of the keywords moving forward this year. It is, you know, it's difficult, you know, wearing a mask and you know, just kind of trying to work. It's hard. It was hard before making movies and everything, and it's just harder now. But you have to just understand the actors are the ones that are most vulnerable because they don't have the stuff on. You know, when the cameras roll, they have to be like this, and you want to do everything possible to mitigate the risk for
Absolutely.
them. We couldn't make Things I Do for Money right now at all. We couldn't make that movie. We could make a movie with Max and Theo in a room together because they're quarantined together and they're in their own bubble. But we certainly couldn't put them into 35 locations with like 144 background people. So we were really lucky to have done it when we did it.
And continuing on this theme, you were supposed to release this movie. So this was the intention was that this was going to be in movie theaters, that you know, we were all going to be able to.
Thanks, Nathan.
300 people, and we would all been sitting there enjoying this together, and we would have been on stage talking about this. But what did that do to this production? So you got the movie ready, you're ready to go, and then this happened. So how did you pivot around that?
Nathan, I just want to point out that the Hamilton Film Festival has been a big supporter of us from the very beginning. You were supposed to do a Q&A at the Westdale Theater during our premiere week there, I'm sure we would have sold out that theater.
Twice, three times for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure during the run, we were going to do just a week at the Westdale, just us, because we knew there was enough people to fill that 340 seat theater over and over again, just between the McMaster students that are friends with Max and Theo to the cast and crew that shot this thing, right? And then Abby was able to put together a 9-city Canadian theatrical run for this movie, which was a $160,000 movie with, and this is, I'm not saying this with any disrespect for our cast, but there's no stars in our movie. There's no big name to draw from. And Abby was able to put together this 9-city theatrical run, which we were so excited for. So, Abby, can you tell your excitement when you found out that we had to cancel all that?
I tried to find some way to fit a square peg in a round hole. Trust me, I did not want to give it up. The amount, I've never worked. I've released over 150 movies in Canada as a distributor. I've never worked so hard to get a movie in as many screens as we did.
We had Young and Dundas Cineplex.
Young and Dundas, like it took me over 2 months to convince Cineplex to give me that screen, and we were in discussions with the Vancouver Van City Theatre in downtown Vancouver. We were
Calgary Globe.
The Globe. We were in every major city, and then COVID happened, and it just poof. And and then we decided to get on the blower with our distributor Raven Banner and say, look, we still want to do some sort of a theatrical of at least one screening, so our Hamilton cast and crew and our Hamilton friends can see the movie. And so, the idea was to do it at a drive-in. So I reached out to the head of Premier Cinemas, who happens to handle the Starlight in Hamilton, and pitched Brian, who's the head guy there, to do it. And I showed him a trailer and I said, look, we shot it there. We can sell the joint out. And he said, yeah, I've heard that before. And I said, no, we're going to sell the joint out. Trust me. And he said, okay, I'm going to take a chance. And we sold the joint out with lots of days to spare.
And lots of disappointed people.
There was a lot of disappointed people that couldn't get a ticket.
Yeah.
So, and even on Facebook, there was a whole thread of people saying, I missed out on getting a ticket. Is there anybody that can't go that's willing to sell their ticket? I think we could have done really, really well. There it is. There's a picture.
It was really great. Yeah, to get everybody out safely in a community setting, to see the movie on the big screen together at least once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and instead of clapping, people were honking and cheering out their windows and stuff. It was really, really neat.
Yeah. So, but now we're out on digital, and we have some exciting news for the fall that we're going to be announcing soon, for some other great news for the film. And we had a pretty great festival tour, mostly in the US, actually. And lots of love, a few awards for the Aoki's, and I'm super proud of everything that we've accomplished.
And speaking on that, so Warren, you're blazing a few trails here on this movie. So with the release of this movie, can you talk about some of the things, the things that this film has done that we haven't seen before on the film? So can you tell some of these?
Yeah, I mean, outside of, I've always wanted to make a movie. Hamilton is Hamilton. I've shot so many times in Hamilton. I did a movie called Unrivaled there. My second movie was shot at the Lloyd George School that they shot Silent Hill in. I did Five Girls with Ron Perlman there. I've shot, I don't know how many episodes of TV in Hamilton, but I've always wanted to come back. But the one thing that I haven't seen done was tell a sort of a contemporary Hamilton story from sort of a BIPOC perspective. And I'm Japanese Canadian, so and the Aokis who star in the movie are two young, I guess they're fourth generation Yonsei Japanese Canadians, So they just happened to be Japanese Canadian, and we made the movie around them. But as we started putting, and it's a crime movie, right? Like it's unabashedly a genre film. You know, I think one thing with the movies that come out of the Asian community is we do great dramas, we do great sort of family dramas, we do great documentaries. Filmmakers like Mina Shum, you know, Meditation Park, one of my, and Double Happiness, some of my most favorite movies dealing with the Asian experience, Meditation Park in Vancouver specifically. But the genre world, although is inhabited by many like Asian horror films and amazing, I mean, you know, The Grudge and everything. In Canada, we haven't done that. And so Things I Do for Money is really the first movie directed by a Japanese Canadian to star 4 Japanese Canadians, to be sold to the United States and to be sold in Canada. And, you know, I've said this before, it's a dubious honor, right? Like I wish there was 20 of these movies that have been made, but it's good to be first, and it's good for this film to kind of lean into that, because I think one thing that I've seen in Hamilton is it is a diverse city. It's way more multifaceted than you know, some might think, being you know, industrial steel town city. I mean, it has a huge arts community, which is the Arcello playing. And it has this historically nefarious background as being the bootlegger's paradise, that sort of city between Toronto and Buffalo that prohibition would run through. So, you know, all the different criminal elements would come out of that. We wanted to explore that. But yeah, you know, after making 10 movies and never exploring my own heritage, never really looking at who I am, I was able to do it with this film, and I'm happy to have done it with this group, because it was just a really great inclusive group to do it with, and I think with the Aokis and casting their dad as just Jimmy and Rhett Morita as Tosh, they formed this contemporary Japanese family, which I can see in my own family, my brothers and my mom and my dad. But I don't know if the general public has seen this. They might just think Japanese crime movie. They think just Yakuza, right? They just think of this trope or this thing that they've seen before, you know, triad gangsters or whatever. But really, if you look at the film, the Yaguchi family, even though they have criminal things happening in and around them, they're just a family in Hamilton, you know. And that's kind of what we wanted to say is we're a part of the fabric, we're a part of the community, and yeah, it was great to be able to do that.
And so going back to what Avi said at the very beginning, you know, when he wanted to work with you, he said, you know, write the movie that you want to make. So was this Things I Do for Money something that you had in your mind before that, or did Avi kind of light a fire under you to make the kind of movie that you always wanted to make?
Well, Abby, and Jen, Laura, and Emily were able to give me the freedom to kind of do the thing that I wanted to do. But Gary and I had a movie that was titled Things I Do for Money back in 2006. And it was a completely different story, more of an ensemble, triptych anthology movie, a bunch of different storylines intertwining. So when we started putting this together, and we kind of started zeroing in on the Aokis as the potential glue of what the story was going to be, we're like, what if it was Things I Do for Money with the Aokis? What if it was them that were the ones that were, you know, involved in this heist or this stealing of the money? And yeah, I mean, Avi was kind of instrumental in just putting the fire under me to actually go do something. I had been on a really great run in television, and I'm still very thankful that I'm able to work and tell stories in television. But in the film side, my independent film side, it's been a while since I did something that was really my own. And to be able to work with producers that kind of go, okay, I might not get what this is yet. I mean, Avi was part of this too. It's like the first pieces of coverage, which is the reader's notes for the script that came back for Things I Do for Money, was awful. I mean, people just did not get the script. Like, you would read the script and go, what the fuck is this? Like, how does this work? Which is understandable, but for whatever reason, Abby and Emily kind of just accepted the fact that this was going to be a unique project, and you'd had to have some patience with it.
I also think too that, you know, we were lucky that Raven Banner sort of trusted us to give them something that they can do something with for the domestic marketplace. You know, typically in this country, getting a distribution deal before you go to camera for an indie film never happens. I mean, it happens
because they want to know if you can actually make it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, a lot of my movies now, I do get that, but I get that because it's generally with Raven Banner, because they know the people that I'm working with, but they also know Warren, and they've known Warren for a very long time. And so that they trusted us that we would give them a movie that they could sell. And, you know, before we had even finished the film, you know, I was able to reach out to some colleagues of mine who are international sales company Evolutionary, who loved the film, like they loved it, and they had to be involved in selling it internationally for us. So, you know, indie films don't necessarily get international sales companies wanting to represent their films. We are one of the few that got somebody before we even released the movie anywhere, to any festival or anything.
And again, this is without a single star name. You know, sometimes you're able to put together an indie film and build it around an actor that is available that wants to do it. But our star really is, well, it's Max and Theo, but it's their music, right? It was the cello music that really drove the interest, and certainly the film festivals that picked up on us early responded to the cello stuff that was in it.
Yeah.
And I would like to let everyone know that's watching that if you do want to ask any questions, you can throw them in the comments at the Hamilton Film Festival Facebook page, and we'll answer any questions as we approach the 9:30 time here. I wanted to go to Christoph here as we're talking about Hamilton indie film. Going back could be 10 years or so, we had a movie studio called Digital Canaries that started up in the city, and they were really kind of one of the first people that really you know, offered studio space. And then moving along a little further, we had Hamilton Film Studios open up just a few years back, and they've done some amazing work. They're just amazing people. And then we had the announcement not that long ago that the Aeon Studio Group was looking at the Barton Tiffany land to have some studio space there. So studios are coming, and then comes along some you know, cinematographer named Christoph Benfey, who says, yeah, I got an idea. He told me a while back that you know, this town needs a film hub. And many people have been saying that, but not many people do something about it. So Christoph, why don't you tell us what you're doing about this and what's going on with your new venture?
Sure. Yeah, this dream kind of came from the idea that we do have a few studios popping up, and like Digital Canaries is awesome, and Zach and the guys at HFS, it's an incredible space, and it's amazing that they're all popping up. But even as a working cinematographer who's like quite immersed in the industry, there's no real reason for me to just like walk into HFS and say like, hey, how's it going, everybody? And see what's going on. And I think there is a bit of a barrier of entry for a lot of filmmakers who are just starting out in terms of, you know, being able to get acquainted with other people who are doing stuff. So this is a dream that I've had for, you know, basically since I got started in the film industry here, to create a space where everyone feels welcome, but you can also work, and it makes sense for people at all, you know, facets of the spectrum of filmmakers here. So yeah, we found a building which was kind of a major catalyst for actually making this thing happen. It's on Victoria, just beyond the General Hospital, so really close to HFS, which is awesome, because we feel like we're forming a bit of like a a Hamilton film like district, maybe. Absolutely. Eventually.
Yep.
The consortium. You're actually making your own consortium.
Exactly. And it's a huge building with really high ceilings, so it's all the things you're looking for in a film studio. And we're going to convert some of that into studio space, but then there'll also be co-working and private offices, and then all kinds of amenities that filmmakers are looking for, like sound recording rooms and edit suites and a podcast room and all kinds of stuff like that. And then there's also a public area with like a little coffee shop restaurant thing, just so that the filmmakers who don't have a space there still feel a reason to step foot on the property. And if they don't have a spot in the co-working, they can still come in and grab a coffee and work there and rub shoulders with people who are doing stuff. So that was kind of the dream behind that. And we're calling it the Evil Empire because it's, I don't know, cheeky, I guess. But, on your initial announcement, I noticed a lot of comments, a lot of shares. How has the response been? Has the phone been ringing? Are people looking to come in and film there? Are people looking to come in and help? What's the response been so far? It's been overwhelmingly positive. I think the video has one dislike on YouTube, and
there's always one. There's always one troll.
It's probably somebody I know, who's just like, oh, this needs.
It was Nick.
Christoph in check.
Yeah, it was Nick for sure, Nick.
But it's been really positive, and yeah, like you said, everybody across, there's people who want to volunteer. There's people who are interested in investing. There's people who want space there and to secure a spot in the co-working area. A few people have messaged us about operating the coffee shop. So basically everything we've been hoping the announcement would be, it's been and more. And I'm still responding to people. I've gotten back to 80 something emails out of, I don't know, there's still probably 30 or 40 more to go. And that's all I've been doing this week is fielding responses from that and, making sure that we're taking good notes on all the people who are getting in touch with us so that we can keep them in the loop as things develop. So yeah, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, which I expected from Hamilton. And also the fact that we've been all cooped up for 6 months, I think just having something cool to look forward to was, something everyone was just waiting for. So yeah, the timing was great.
And so I noticed on the website, people can go, they can sign up, they can get information about it. How far away are we from getting in there? Are people booking now, or are you still got some way to go? What's the status there?
Yeah, it's basically just an empty shell right now, and we're waiting on building permits to really get up and running. But the nice thing is with these kinds of spaces, it's not the work that we need to do isn't that extensive. So there'll be a few phases for everything to roll out, but we're hoping that by March of next year, we'll be able to start putting people in there. And I'm anxious to get in there myself. So we'll definitely be pushing for that. And then the studio and the bigger studio and the coffee shop will be kind of a phase 2 thing next summer. And then, we'll kind of go from there. So yeah, early next spring basically is when we're hoping to get people in.
I'm sure Abby's going to have a side set in there in two weeks.
The Abby Federgreen studio.
Listen, I told Christoph when actually, hold on. Wasn't I not the first production to shoot in there?
Yes, you were the third. I guess
Second one, whatever. Yeah,
you're the first.
I've already shot in there, Warren.
First feature production.
That's
since
right.
We took over.
Trust me, I went to Christoph right away after I'd never seen the inside of the building. When we shot there, I said I need to be a part of this somehow. Like I've been noodling how I'm going to get involved, but I need to get involved.
Yeah.
And Danny Chalun says, hearing you guys makes me want to move back to Hamilton. Sounds like amazing people to serve and work with. Maybe we just all should move back to Hamilton and shoot out of Christoph's studio.
We'll take you. Better sign up on the website. Make sure you got a spot secured.
What's the website? What's the website address?
EvilEmpireStudios.com.
EvilEmpireStudios.com. So
Scruffy wants to be the studio doc.
Right, he's more than welcome. Scruffy can come anytime.
Okay.
So listening to you all talk about, you have the studio. Avi's already, put his footprint in there, and talking about having other people come in to shoot. It really is it's like a little family that comes together when you make a film. I hear that analogy all the time, that it's this family because you basically live together pretty much 24 hours a day in this pocket, and then all of a sudden it stops and kind of goes away. Are all of you planning to work together again? I would love to get a sense of what you're all.
No, that was it.
That was it.
One and done. I'm surprised they all got on a Zoom tonight. We just hate each other.
I mean, I've already worked with all these people since Things I Do for Money.
Avi made
And
his own short film right after he got the directing bug, and we all basically helped out with him. So
yeah, and then well, Kelly didn't because her phone, she never answers her phone.
Too
Um,
busy.
but I made a movie in Hamilton that I produced called I Do or Die that Christoph and Nick worked on and Kelly worked on. Emily is working with me on my feature that I'm going to shoot next year in Paris, Ontario, maybe hopefully or somewhere close to Hamilton. And hopefully this project in October will be shot in Hamilton. So these people are family, and you work with family as much as you can. I can't imagine not doing stuff without them. Nick.
I want to. I'm a little tied up.
I know.
So Nick, why don't you take over here and tell us what you're tied up with? What are you working on now? What's in your future here?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with a company called Sinking Ship on a show called Odd Squad. I can't say too much about it. Warren's one of the directors on this season, so it's always nice to work with.
well, Odd Squad's been out for a while. You can talk about the actual.
I guess this is like the next season of a continuation.
Well, Odd Squad mobile unit's been out too, so you can.
That's true. Yeah. So this is like the new version Odd Squad mobile unit. Working with Gail Yee. She's our cinematographer on the series. We've got amazing directors coming up this season, and I work as a camera focus puller on it. And then on my off time, when I'm not working on that show, I fill my weekends with working with the Camp 905 crew based out in Hamilton. We're kind of like a small little film collective that kind of some of us went to school together, and through just working on sets, we've all connected and started our own little like film community, and we do a lot of shorts together. We were lucky enough to get some funding from, I believe, Canada Arts Council, and we got to do 2 short films that were fully funded rather than out of our own pocket, which was great. And we've got more scripts coming up that we want to be producing sort of when we all have time. So like I have a hiatus I know coming up in September, and I've already booked myself on that to do a short film or 2 with the gang that I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, that's great. Camp 905 is fantastic. Their movies are so highly entertaining, and they're just such a talented group of people. I highly recommend anybody watching to seek out Camp 905 and see some of their stuff. So you have a great little collective there with Camp 905. Let's go to Emily. You're part of this collective called The Coop. So what are you working on? Or Film Coop, right? That's the... Tell me.
Yeah, we're filming a few trailer pitch videos coming up. We have one tomorrow and one on Wednesday. Christoph is actually going to be filming for us on he's our DP on Wednesday. So we're going to put those together and pitch them to get funding to make the web series basically. And we're also working. Some of us are working with Avi on his project, and we're developing things and writing with people and talking with people and hoping to.
You're in post with another feature right now as well.
What? Yeah, we're in post as well for a feature that we shot November. So yeah, we like to keep busy doing what we can, and we're always writing for grants and funding of some sort, which is always exciting and. Lots of writing. And then actually with the time that because we're on set a lot usually, and with the time that we've had right now, we've been able to help get more eyes on some of the projects that maybe weren't seen and they were waiting for something to happen, and luckily they've gotten some digital play too, because people are looking for things to watch now, or they were, at least when we were really stuck at home, right? So we were lucky with that, and a lot of people were happy. And then of course there's the digital festivals that are kicking off too. So we have a few projects out there with that too. We're busy and happy, and we miss being on set more, but we've been lucky to keep in touch with people, especially on Zoom.
That's great. And how about you, Kelly? What's going on? Who are you convincing that to open their doors to let you shoot in
yeah,
there?
to
What's going
open
on
our
in your
doors
world?
and let us film in. Currently, I'm gun for hire on another project, so I'm not doing any locations right now, but always willing to help out, promote my city, number one, and number two, I guess most importantly, is help filmmakers coming to our city and in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, once a scout, always a scout. And when I saw Christoph's place, my little scouting heart imploded. Like, how many locations at one location? It's just all there under one roof. You know, it checks all the boxes for whatever you're filming. Yeah, I'm so excited and looking forward to that. And Christoph, you did promise me, you know, a personal tour whenever you're up and running.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
absolutely.
Congrats, it's amazing.
And
But on that note, I'm gonna leave my film family, if that's okay, and deal with my
Your real family.
my life family. Yeah, it was great seeing you all. Virtual hugs to everyone, and I gotta go be a mom. And Nathan, in 2 years, we're gonna bump into each other again. That's our thing. You said,
let's make
right?
it sooner. Let's make it sooner. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, bye everyone.
Kelly.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Kels Pels.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
And let's bring this all right back to Warren. Right now, here we are on this Zoom. You're in the middle of this digital watch party. People watch the movie, and then you do a panel. So tell us what's the next phase for Things I Do for Money? Where's this heading now? What's got your schedule filled?
Well, we're still going to be on digital for the next couple months. So, there's 36 million people in Canada, and that's a lot of eyeballs that we can still find for, iTunes, Apple TV, Bell, Cineplex, Cogeco, Rogers, Shaw, Vimeo, TELUS. I think I got all of them. And really, it's sort of the challenge of being an indie filmmaker is, Raven Manor has been great, but it is up to the filmmaker themselves and their team to get the word out and to get people excited to see it. So hopefully the people watching tonight, and as we do more of these sort of panels and watch parties, they'll want to actually see the film that we've been talking about. I think it's funny. We've been getting some of our press in, and even though it's one of those movies that's oddly all over the place, and I'll accept that as a co-writer of the film. I mean, there's a lot of balls being juggled in the air. People are really responding to Max and Theo, their debut, along with the rest of the cast, Yoda Tuaderos, and our wonderful Colette Zaka, our criminal grandmother that runs the underworld in Hamilton, Dax Lowe, Rhett Morita, and all the Aokis that are in it, Jennifer Walton, Claudette Brundage. But using sort of the momentum coming out of our first couple of weeks of the digital release and things like this, Nathan, thank you for having us tonight. Avi is putting together a pretty robust idea for what we're doing in the fall and winter with a DVD release and the soundtrack release. So I don't know, Avi, if you want to give a little bit of a heads up on that.
Yeah, it's like I don't have anything to do. We've always, from day one, even when we were still crafting a script, Warren and I always talked about, the idea of releasing a soundtrack. This is before the music was written, but we had this feeling that there was going to be something special created by the Aokis, and they nailed it. I mean, the soundtrack is absolutely killer. So I have a indie record label called IndieCan Records. It's been around for about 5 years now. Have two artists that are signed to the label. Laura Tremblay, who's a producing associate of mine, is one of the artists, and a woman from Sudbury named Jennifer Hollub. So Things I Do for Money will be the first actual actually the second soundtrack released off the label, because Kiss and Cry, we released an EP off that, which actually has raised almost $10,000 for the Carly's Angels Foundation. Hopefully that we will raise some money to help the Aokis graduate university.
The Aoki Like Master Fund.
That's right. In conjunction with that, we want to release a special DVD, which will be an extended DVD disc, a DVD 9 that's known as. It has an extra bit of content on it. And Anna Catley, our esteemed editor, and Warren have been putting together some special DVD extras, including a bloopers reel, which we released last week on Zoom.
We didn't release it. We had it. We showed it at our private cast and crew party.
Okay, but I mean to the public, it was officially.
No, we gave it to the Indiegogo supporters.
Okay, well then I'm way behind everybody else. Anyways, blooper reel and some other DVD extras that we're gonna put on the extended DVD, and that'll come out in the fall too. And then we'll have a few other special announcements coming up soon about broadcast and other things. So, but right now, we're gearing up for those kinds of things, and it's important to try to extend not only the life of the film, but to reach out broader audiences that may not necessarily feel comfortable watching on digital. Some people just prefer watching on physical. There's the music, because how much the music has been. The attention has been drawn to the music, and a lot of people have asked where they can get the music. It will be released on over 200 platforms across the world, including Spotify, Deezer, and all these other platforms, simultaneously starting in the fall.
Great.
Raul and the Big Time's on this Facebook Live, and Raul, he says, congrats on the feature, but Raul's also an amazing independent Canadian artist and actor, and same sort of thing. It's just getting your music out to the masses. It's always hard, but it's rewarding once people actually hear the music. Check out Raul and the Big Time.
Raul and the Big Time, yep.
Yeah.
And actually, Raul was one of the lead actors in the show that Christoph and Nick and I did called I Do or Die in Hamilton.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. Can't wait to see it.
That sounds amazing. And so, you think about the movie, you get the movie written, you talk to some people, you get that fire lit underneath you, and the days, weeks, months, years go by, and then it still isn't done because now it's time to promote the movie and get audiences excited about it. And then hopefully you get those audiences excited and they share it with their family and friends. And then, you look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when you have the 10th anniversary screening of it, the 25th anniversary screening, and you can look back at these moments. And it's really, I really do appreciate you all coming on to do this, because I really enjoyed the movie. I love the spirit that I'm hearing from everyone here tonight, and for all those filmmakers that are watching it, this is like film school in a box, and in some ways, like, this is 90 minutes of the way it actually is. And I think that I would love to be either a fly on the wall or actually work with any one of you at some point in the future.
Let's do it, Nathan.
And I think it's so important that we all be enthusiastic when somebody else has these kind of successes, and get behind them, because they will do the same for you when you have a project that comes out. So I think it's really important that when you might see someone that has a success, or they open up a film studio, it's really important that you get excited for them and happy for them, because if one of us wins, then we all win. We can all kind of lift each other up, and it really seems like you're the team that really lifted each other up and got this movie made on a low budget in the short period of time. So I look at you as a dream team, and I'm sure you look at each other as a dream team.
Certainly was, yes.
So I want to thank you all for spending your time with us on a Saturday night here and sharing your stories. I'm headed back to a campfire, but I can't think of anywhere else I would have rather have been except in a theater watching this movie. So thank you so much for spending this time on Saturday.
So much,
everybody, go out
Thank you.
and buy, rent things I do for money, and then share it with your family and friends, and get them to buy or rent and then share it. And that's how we can keep this going.
That'd be great if they did. Check it out. If you did like it, leave a review or a comment on either Apple TV, iTunes, or IMDb. It helps to get the word out for sure.
And follow us on socials, and feel free to reach out to us about any filmmaking questions.
Yeah, Nathan, there's a bunch of questions in the chat on the Facebook Live, and I'll answer some of them. I'll type them in afterwards.
I'll answer any that I can as well.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So the questions will live on, and we'll answer them. And if you have any,
Danny Chauno, shout out to you, Danny Chauno. Just go make a movie. Let's. I think that's the like. Don't think about it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Sometimes you just have to do it. But yeah, I'll answer your question, Danny, on the Facebook chat.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you.
Thanks, everyone.
On the sets and on the streets of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Good night.